Hi everyone, welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. Hi Scott Lemriel.
Hello,
We are
Pari.
here, everyone. We are still here. Some people asking, we are still doing this show, Awaken Hidden Truth.
Well, we're because of your suggestion, we're doing them again.
Yeah, actually, we keep doing it, but in another way. Like we take people to go on many journeys and help people to remove secondary implants. Not by us, but by beings from out of town.
Yeah, we do that. I know you mentioned we won't mention any names. There's a few people that are claiming, I think in Thailand, that they can remove implants or that they, got their primary implant removed or they can do it for other people. And I don't go against anybody. It's just the fact that it can't be done. People on Earth cannot do that. They're here. They have subconscious minds that are not gone. And there's a lot more than just removing secondary implants and looking and seeing what's in the primary implant in order to recover the freedom of who we are as beings. There's a whole past in billions of lives that has to be recovered as well. Forgetting how to do certain things and use higher faculties of being that we had in the source itself before we started coming down the lower worlds and playing with bodies, playing with the experiment of good and evil. That experiment is coming to an end in the lower dimensions. That's part of what happened with Turelian and the Ceres when he appeared in front of the Galactic Alliance Council. Basically, it changed them in an instant, and they became a little more motivated to fix and oversee problems with younger races like people on Earth. And before that, they just didn't intervene outside of their own territory. They didn't save a world. It blew up, it blew up. That was the way they were. It's different now. Fortunately, Earth people would be dead now. This world would have gone up in nuclear war very easily. Probably 1950 or 51, it would have been over already. So there are things and beings that have very concealed and very much invisible little research centers on the planet in certain places that have protected Earth people from destroying themselves. The one in Mount Shasta was put there in 1908. It is not manned by anybody on Earth. There's no secret government there. There's no classified people there. And it's just, if they use instruments to see if the mountain's hollow, they won't see it because it's shielded. The technology to do that is easy stuff for advanced races from the stars. We come from the stars. You and me and everybody on Earth never originated here. Human beings never originated here, ever. There was no Cro-Magnon, man, and Neanderthal that we came from. Those are extinct humanoid species. They were not the races that were brought here that you see represented on Earth today. All different kinds of different skin textures and eyes and this and that. They did not evolve on this planet, ever. Everything that's taught in science is theoretical when it comes to where we came from. Did we evolve out of a primordial amoeba in the oceans that became a fish, started walking on its fins on land, then it became like a dinosaur bird, and then it just went pop out of nowhere? Human beings. Human beings did not evolve here.
From what you are saying, so I like to say, because now we take people to go on many journeys. So the question is how important it is to go on the journey and to remove secondary implants.
Well, it's very important to have that done, but I've tried to be as kind and generous as I can to people of Earth, but people of Earth, in my experience, because they have subconscious fear driving their decisions, will choose to do things that aren't for their best good. Or they'll just try to copy what we're doing, or they'll try to do something like that. And that's good intentions, I suppose, but they don't have the background or experience. And they don't have the permission from the beings I work with to do that. If they want to do it on their own, or they have some other group they're working with, they claim. My experience is that secondary implants and primary implants cannot be removed by people on Earth. It requires the expertise and mastery of beings who were never born here, never implanted, never caught, never stuffed in a body here with all their memory gone. Beings that know how to work with the one energy that's out in the universe, the primordial first sound or the hue. Comes from the first word, half of the word human. But it's that energy in space that is vast that little galaxies float in. that is what some people call divine spirit. It does not call itself that. That's completely done on Earth. But outside of Earth, it isn't referred to in this way by the most advanced beings in the greater God out in space and other planets. Because they're our brothers and sisters and they're far more advanced than we are here. And the kicker of it, the joke of the whole thing, is that we were once them and as advanced. And then one thing or another happened. We got stuck in a body on Earth with no memory. And that's true.
And to get to remember again. So we would highly recommend to go on journeys, right, Scott?
Well,
That to
yes,
help
the
people to
secondary,
remember.
what the work I do with people who volunteer to do it with me, there aren't any beings I work with that anybody on Earth could compel or force or manipulate to do anything with them. These beings are way beyond that. They are not like Earth people. They don't eat like Earth people. They don't think like Earth people. They don't grow up like Earth people do. Their planets aren't like Earth. They don't have the problems we have. So these are the beings who remove the secondary implants when we're out in space, outside of Earth's atmosphere. And then at some point, they will work, the same people I introduced to people, will work with them to show them what's in the primary implant. They don't remove it because that's designed to kill your body. Tyrants did that and it was designed that way. We can become aware of what's in it so that it no longer affects our decision making and no longer affects us subconsciously. That's important because then we learn how to master, we learn how to recover the wisdom that's required to use higher faculties properly so that we don't become vulnerable to be trapped again and stuffed in a body against our will and made to forget everything on Earth, trying to do it right, trying to make it better. But when you don't have access to all of what you were before you were born here, how can you make bright decisions? We just make more mistakes. So the planet is in the condition it's in. Because unfortunately, most people on Earth are making decisions every day, and that's religious or political, or all the people on the planet. They're making decisions based on subconscious influenced fear. Fear is negative, and the repercussions in space-time, when we put out fear, is it comes back. It's like a mirror. The hue as it works in the physical universe is like a mirror of God. It comes back, it's like a teacher. I would have to say that the old experiment of evil and good that has run the lower dimensions of time and space for billions of years is a failed experiment because it was designed to cattle prod, to bring people's feet towards the fires of hell in a sense and get them to run in the right direction, but it failed because it was so enticing to people. They didn't have the experience, they get caught up in it. And then they forget who they are, they forget they're not a body, they forget all about what they are, what they look like. You know, they think maybe the higher body is like an astral body. It looks like this, but it's transparent or it's, can fly around. But the actual truth is this form was not made in the image of the source or prime creator, what people call the supreme being. That's all wrong. It's spherical, just like that planet behind me. It's round. Those planets and moons and suns and stars are made round by their creators or creator, if it pleases people more to think of a supreme being who did all that. Because all of us were involved in that long ago. I mean, the shocking nature of it is that beings capable of running a human body, which doesn't run itself, are more ancient than the lower worlds of time and space, and they don't even know it.
Question, why you know so much, that much? How can you know that much?
Well, consider that I'm like that world, except it has layers of teardrops and it's the different color of the light spectrum, and each one contains huge amounts of information, huge abilities, more than information, abilities. The primordial power, the one living force that people call divine spirit, moves through these faculties and powers them. We do not carry our own power as individuals. The omnipresent living power that surrounds that planet and each of us as spherical beings is the power that manifests what we imagine and think, what we visualize. If people are caught as they are on Earth mostly imagining negative things or fear of the present and future, then the universal law is every action creates an equal and opposite reaction in space-time. It becomes something that where maybe in general, much of their day is putting out something negative or some kind of fear. They're putting out positivity and love for their families, but there's almost a predominance, a little bit of a majority of negative stuff in that mix. So the dual nature of the energy that runs the lower universe, positive and negative, rides on a wave, brings both things to us in equal measure. In other words, whatever we're focused on, that's what it brings back to us. Unfortunately, people on Earth are compelled subconsciously to destroy life. And they are brought up thinking that they need to do what they see some animals doing to other animals. And so animals are slaughtered in great numbers and they consume them and they think this is God's will or it's natural and normal. It isn't at all. I'm sure that creates a lot of controversy among people who are the way they are on Earth, but think of it. As long as we're harming other life, we cannot co-creatively wake up and be a co-creator with the source behind life. It's a conflict of interest. The two don't go together. So when we get rid of secondary implants, there are 3, that opens the door for us as Atmas to recover the ability to master what was the primary implant. Primary implant is being killed and tortured and stuffed in a body, and the Atma we are cannot be harmed. There's no negative nature that can be put in what we are as the Atma. I don't know if you can see this, but if you hold up, yeah, you can.
Have a big one too.
Yeah, that's what we are. That's soul. It has structure. It doesn't look like a human body, but it runs a human body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Human bodies do not have their own charge like a battery in a car. Human beings or Atmas derive their current by being part of and connected to, telepathically linked to, the omnipresent field of force, the living energy, the one power in the universe. And then they send a little current down through the pineal gland and run the nervous system through that gland, the center of the brain. And it looks like that. So we're not in the image of God in that sense, in like this body. We're actually round, spherical. So once that starts to wake up in people, because it goes back to the beginning before time and space was created, it opens a kind of a doorway, and the source itself, whether people understand it or not, or afraid of it or not, begins to become a master teacher for us at that point, because it recognizes that that being or beings are sincerely wanting to come back to the source above the void that's known in Buddhist circles and some esoteric groups. And many people believe it's the realm of the Supreme Being. It is not. It's a barrier between the lower worlds of time and space and the realms above it, the real heavens, so to speak. And we are meant to be able, while we're running a body, to go back to that source and experience it, because as Atmas, we can comprehend it. We can move inside it. It's not some tyrant king on a throne with a big beard and a staff. There's no being like that at the center of creation. And that heaven is many dimensions above and beyond the void. So it makes perfect sense that if people begin to experience and remember they came from there, they go there into an energy above the void that's pure positive. There's no negative nature, never has been. There's no time and space, no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. There are places held in place by beings in energy fields, but it's different than it is down here. So one of the beings that often has been attending these journeys we take is Sat Nam. It just means truth, Sat, name, Nam. True name, first source, first personification you might find of a being that looks human. But what he has is not a human body. It looks human, but it's made of pure energy. And we are capable of doing the same thing. Projecting and body a primordial form that looks human. Perfect, flawless, about 36, beautiful, handsome. Everybody's the same this way. Each unique. When we're out of body, we show this form to each other. The Atma projects this, so we have a way of relating with each other. But that is not a physical body. So when we get people on these journeys, the whole point of them is to give them direct experience of knowing things, not information. Information is a dime a dozen. I mean, you give all information in the universe to a person, it won't change them. They won't know if it's true or not for themselves, and so they will not be.
Yes, we have been taking people to go on journeys for a while now. I don't know how many months, but let me say why many people see, like many Thai people go on the journey with us. So first I'd like to start with the first thing before we do the show together, Scott. I read your book, The Series Agenda. And then we do the Awaken Hidden Truth show together. During this time for like almost 7 years, I go on journeys every week, okay, for 7 years. And I also have my channel in Thai. I have many Thai videos sharing with my direct experience for 6 or 7 years. Imagine how could I have something to share with people for 6 or 7 years? Only by this reading this book and go on many journeys with Scott Lemriel. And because I share the experience and Thai people listen and they start having their own experience too. And they read the books too. That's why they go on journeys. The more they go on journeys, the more they have experience. And also they come to remove the secondary implants to get them free. So this is why I like to ask everyone, if you really want to get free, start by reading this book and go on many journeys, and remove secondary implant will help you get free.
And along that line, we spent some time, about a year, getting donations from Thai people, and out of respect, we are now in the process, with the right person, we both think, to translate the English published worldwide book of the Savior's Agenda into the Thai language, as a respect and honor for those people. And then when they get it, I think things are going to accelerate quite a bit, because they'll be able to read it in Thai, and that can lead into the trilogy of books that we may turn into Thai as well one day, but it'll help them.
Yeah, and I want to share with all of you guys again. It's amazing. You don't have to believe me. You just do it by reading this book. Because now we do the translation into Thai, so I have to correct in some words too, and because I have to read many times again. When you read this book, believe it or not, I could remember the dreams more than before. Now, whoever listen to this show, don't believe me until you read this book and get your own experience.
Let's Thank you, Pari. Let's talk about a waking dream. What is it? People have heard this term. I think some people on Earth, not many. Most people are still too caught up in belief systems that don't allow them to have direct experience with what they believe in. That's unfortunate, because it's not meant to be like that. Beliefs, religions, properly done, should lead to direct experience. I don't mean just more faith or more belief in something, but really knowing. Because the opposite of faith and belief is fear and doubt. And they go together, so we want to get beyond all that. We want to get beyond fear and doubt and faith and belief and go into what we once knew how to do, with the source behind all life itself, knowing. Knowing comes from a reacquiring or awakening higher faculties of being that have been off or dormant or suppressed for a very long time, long before this lifetime, usually. So the journeys help, especially the long distance journeys, that when we go out to other worlds and we go into parallel and higher dimensions and we go above the void, we go up into the higher realities where there's no negative nature, because when we immerse ourselves in that, we're bringing that back to Earth. And it can't do anything other than change a person for the better, because that rubs off on us. And when people come back to Earth, they start to become boots on the ground. They become channels for recovering how to be a co-creator with the source behind all life. And it comes through them by their awakening. And it helps to affect other people and help to change this place into an unexpected transformation instead of an Armageddon. Armageddon's really, all of that belief is just people wanting to die together, to go home for free, to get out of here. But they aren't learning how to be mature beings enough to be trusted to go into a higher heaven. Not that way. They need to have awakened a lot of higher faculties of knowing and wisdom in order to be trusted to be a conscious co-creator with the source, which is the reason we exist. That's our purpose for living. So yeah, the journeys are very important. As things step up on the planet, and maybe we won't have to guide so many people this way, because there are guides from other worlds that get assigned to people to work with them every time they're out of their body at night. And everybody leaves their body every night, whether they believe it or know it or not. No one's taught this from birth all over the world, so they grow up in mass just reinforcing a negative view that limits them from experiencing without realizing it. So when we learn how to master, there's only really one thing we ever have to get rid of, ever, in about anything in life, because everything else changes itself around us. That's fear. Fear is artificial. It's not a real human emotion at all. It's not part of the Atma, or what people call soul. It is something that was forced upon us at different experiences in our journeys in the lower worlds, the negative and the positive, and the good and evil, and all that. That has to be personally and of free will set aside by each individual, because we do have the ability to do it, even if we doubt or fear it now. Each of us have that ability to set that aside. And there are beings out there who are not suffering from subconscious minds or influences at all, far more in number in the trillions than are people on Earth. And they're awake, and they know how in trouble Earth is and its people. So they are intervening in this planet, not with the intent to run governments or take over, but to help wake people up so they can, in a mature way, run their own world and be accepted as a member in a huge organization of world systems. Just in the physical universe alone, this is possible. We can't be accepted into that organization the way we are on Earth now, because people on Earth think they have the right to go out in the universe in spaceships and fight over it, like the US versus China versus Russia. And they can go out there and see who can land their ships first and start bilking all those other worlds for all their resources. This is never, ever going to happen. We have no future like that in space travel, like Star Trek with radioactive warp core driven ships. They don't use radioactive materials. They're outlawed outside of Earth. They're useless. They're dangerous. They're destructive. They're not useful. They have a way of tapping the power that's in that black area of space, which is not empty, and it's not really black, and running it through their ships to power themselves across the galaxy without even using any energy, with no tailpipes, not polluting anything. Now this makes sense. We can
Yeah,
have,
that is the important part. And another part, can you imagine that we are not ready to go travel in space yet? How can we go to the bathroom? How can we eat on the way, and to the destination? There's
think
no.
about it. Think about this one. I know this will be controversial, but I don't care about controversies. You know my work. I don't spend any time debating anything with anybody. That's a waste of time. It keeps people grounded to the earth in negative conflict and argument, which has nothing to do with truth or awakening or anything else. It just takes up people's time until there's no time left, and then they perish, they die. So no, we don't spend time with that. But when people understand that fear is artificial and implanted in them subconsciously, and that it can be removed, this is the basis for the constructive, uplifting side of this work. It isn't just about revealing, waking people up to earth that extraterrestrials not only exist, but they were extraterrestrials themselves before they were made unconscious and put on this planet. That goes back into galactic history. It goes back to a war in the universe, in our galaxy, that took place and came to an end 500,000 years ago.
And that we can read from this book.
Actually, that's described even, yeah, that book, but it's also described in the Emerald Doorway. Polar shifts, what causes them, and all of that stuff. And the work I'm doing today reveals to people that the polar shifts have been permanently suspended for this planet. And when you look at that cover, that's originally created artwork. It was not cheap, and I worked with someone I respect highly to very carefully oversee the creation of these. These people are actual actors in costume, because really good book covers are done that way. They're shot as actors, except for Etta, who's a Dren, who's a CGI character. In a film he would be. But that right there is what we call the Ancient One, or Source, or Prime Creator. And above each of the heads of these beings is a smaller one that looks just like it. So this is this being introducing these people 100,000 years ago on Earth, who are not from Earth, up above the waves after the poles flipped and destroyed Lemuria, colony continent of Atlantis, wiped out everything on the Earth. And this is when this master teacher introduces what they are from something that is, they are like it, identical to it. So this is part of what that book reveals. It may look like a science fiction book. You know, it's actually, these books are published in two categories because I couldn't do it any other way. The nonfiction is body, mind, spirit, UFOs, extraterrestrials. The other one is fiction, action, adventure, because the action adventure has to be written into it to give this depth of information and this depth of what people have forgotten a connective link so that they can begin to wake it up.
And this book is trilogy. You have another book named Guardians of the Ancient One.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it with me. And Journey to the Center of the Universe.
Guardians of the Ancient One. See if I can get a journey. Can you see it?
Yes, now, yeah. Don't move. Yes.
Journey to the Center of the Universe. That's a bad guy. He's human, but he's not from Earth. So what's good about
Each book, each book gives different experience when you read it. I mean, you don't have to believe me now. Everyone just prove it, read it yourself, and then you experience it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's wise, because the books aren't based on anybody believing me, you know, because I can't give them proof. For instance, if I showed one person on this earth had a Galactic Alliance scout ship 30 feet in diameter land in front of them, and a man or woman gets out and says hi, there wouldn't be any way for that person to prove it happened or be of any benefit to anybody else if they told them about it. And there aren't enough spaceships to give everybody a spaceship right on Earth. It wouldn't be fair. So it's better that people recover the awareness when they used to fly those things, pilot those things, when they were part of an ancient order of beings that they were part of long before they found themselves on Earth with little or no former memory intact. We got to recover that first, because mastery, what people call mastery, has a great deal to do with recovering higher faculties of being that we had at the beginning with Source itself. Then the mastery comes into having the wisdom to apply those higher faculties to space, time, and other worlds and other beings in a kind, loving way, in an intelligent and comprehensive way, so we don't abuse energy and get sucked back down into not remembering anything, which is where people are on Earth today. So they're busy abusing life all day long, thinking they're going to get out of here and wake up, but it doesn't work like that. Because as long as we're not respecting life, we're stuck. There are no people I know of that come here except reptilians, and they don't come anywhere in our solar system anymore, that have refrigerators full of dead animals to eat along the way when they come here. Think about it. That's just not practical. They don't do that. That's not how it is. And the people on Earth were very much different than they experience themselves now, long ago. We start to remember these things and recover them on these journeys. I guide these journeys. Pari, you translate into Thai for Thai people. We do English guided journeys as well. You do them, I do them. We're trying to get more people involved, which is why we lowered the cost in half, again, of what it was. And it didn't seem to make a difference in numbers of people coming to this work, the usual people. It's funny because I think, well, most people are kind of subconsciously terrified, afraid to really know truth, to really confront personally what they think the Supreme Being is. Because that source, when you go there, as we do, never required that we worship it or pray to it. What it does require is that we go there and respect it, each other, and all life. And one of the only requirements we have to become masterful and free as beings in a higher heaven is that we know all the life that exists in the grand multidimensional creation. Astral, physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric, the void. Satnam's realm, the Hue Expansionary Academy, which was brought into existence 10 or 11 years ago, and then on up through the planes, all the way to Source itself, where we all came from, long ago. When people begin to recover their awareness of this, which is who they really are, then their perspective about life in other worlds, their ability to respect and know it, starts exponentially increasing. It starts waking up. So there's these two elements that people talk about, self and God realization, in some circles on Earth. And most people, the masses of people, don't even know those terms. Most of the 8 billion don't. Maybe a few million here and there do. But it means self-realization is an understanding, an awakening and recovery of this. What we are as a soul, as an atma. It has never been a physical body. And that can't be destroyed. It can't be implanted. Implants are, there's an electromagnetic field that surrounds this, just like it does the Earth. And it's into that field that surrounds the outside of what you are, where these negative, misdirecting, subconscious things are. And they're removed from that. Not from this. This has never been implanted. It's not made of physical matter. It can't be negatively affected. But in creating the lower worlds, one of the things that happened, which nobody knew would happen, was the hue that makes this field that comes out the South Pole goes in the north, same as it does around a planet in exactly the same way. And there's a toroidal or a 0-point energy field, electromagnetic field around the galaxy. It's the same. It's even around the physical body in the same way. It's not a thin layer of colors near the surface. Like in psychic circles, they think it's much bigger than that, and it's spherical around them. So when we start to wake up this, that's self-realization, and what we call God realization is going home to the source, blending into it. You don't lose individuality. Speaking with it, talking with this source, being unafraid to do it. It's not belief, and we don't worship it. The masterful beings I work with, they're mostly not from Earth, would walk away from us if we tried to put them on a pedestal and worship them, because that's a trap, ultimately. We're supposed to respect. For me, what people call divine love on Earth is respect for all life. That's real divine love. And to do that, we have to know what that life is, don't we?
Yes, it's wonderful when you took us to meet with Source, Many of us cry when we were with Source, cry tears with joy,
Yeah.
tears with happiness,
Yeah, because it's like, oh my God, I finally remember what I was made to forget. Most important part. We need to get, I don't want to say drenched because it's not water, but if we bathe or immerse ourselves in the ocean of sound and light, which is what people think of where the Supreme Being really would be, and we bathe in that and we come back here, it starts to change all the stuff we ever did, good and bad and everything else in all of our lives. It starts to iron that stuff out. It begins to remove karma and reincarnation and maya or illusion. It starts to just filter it out, because that stuff was never meant to be permanent. It was done as a teacher, and it's a failed experiment, basically, which means the whole lower worlds of time and space have held back what we would call the Supreme Being from moving things forward in a better direction. Because a lot of us collectively, all together, awake, make up, and are part of the Supreme Source itself. It doesn't call itself Supreme because that implies a king or a tyrant. It isn't.
From what I know, people who remove secondary implant with us and go on many journeys with us, their life have changed so much. They are happier, their life is lighter, and then they could see things, and then they can let go of things easier too.
Yeah, it becomes easier for us to not, out of being habit ridden, focusing on fear of the present and the future is a primary trap that is promoted all over the world by people who themselves are affected by fear of the present and future. Religious and political leaders are not exempt from this. So the decisions they make keep the world in the condition it's in, deteriorating into a negative, we got to pay the price for what we're doing to life. You can't escape it. There is one way to avoid being compulsively compelled to reincarnate in bodies with no memory, which is the condition of the people on earth today, most of them. And that is, we have to show the source that we're willing to respect all life and change, because then it helps us do it. Then
I
it
got
helps us do
yes. I got many feedbacks from people who remove secondary implant. Before they said they didn't even know that they were trapped in fears. Once the secondary implants were removed, they said they could see the cause of the problem, and then they just focus and not focus anymore, go away from these fears.
it. Now that brings up a point there, what you're saying. Most people think incorrectly that they don't have to be responsible for the condition of this world or any world. But the fact is, we do, because we helped create these worlds collectively as the source. We are part and the same as the energy as the source itself, individualized. And the reason we exist is to one day, become conscious co-creators with it. That means we have the inspiration to return to the source of billions of lives and deliver to it new insights into how to do things. It's relying on our return. People haven't been returning. That is starting to change for the first time now, because there's a new kind of conscious energy moving through the omnipresent power. First half of the word human, hu, this first sound in creation, that's missing from books on earth, because it is a sound frequency. It's not a word, a spoken word. And when we tune into it, it starts to move through us in a more conscious way. And that's really what happens.
I went through the same experience. I had the same experience. I asked myself, I didn't do anything wrong. Why was trapped on earth and why so many problems around me? Just because I could not remember what I did in the past and in previous life before this time. Okay. So once I remember by reading the books and go on many journeys, so I know what I did wrong. And now I am taking my responsibility to change, to co-create in a new way.
There is, I wanted to share this with people because they will find it out on their own. Mark my words, they'll hear these words and remember this one day. There is no master anywhere in creation that can wave a magic wand and set someone free and give them self and God realization as a gift. They won't do it. They don't do that because they know if you give something to someone who has not woken up and earned to properly utilize higher awareness with wisdom and love, they will destroy themselves with that gift or do the same thing in misusing it, and it will not change. So a person is required by Source to put some effort into recovering their own freedom. The spiritual techniques, the techniques that are in the back of the series agenda, there's an extensive section in the back working with the hue, one technique for each of the 29 chapters. And that's why we're anxious to get it in Thai too, because we have good following in Thai, and it'd be great benefit for them experientially to be able to read it in their own language. It'll be good in other languages too. However, the most expensive and challenging thing any publisher, like I am, and author, can do is take on the challenge of translating a book into another language. Generally, this is not done for any authors on earth unless they're hugely successful, like the Harry Potter books or something like that, or Dean Koontz's work or something like that. These are very successful authors. The publishing companies will spend $10 million translating into 65 languages if they're making billions, but otherwise they won't. So, it isn't what people think. The motivation here is to, have at least a New York Times bestseller and many times that before companies will spend the time and energy to translate into other languages. We're doing it anyway. We're starting that process because somebody's got to kick it off. So when we go
It's a
on,
good point, when you mention that the masterful being, they won't use the magic wand to get us free. We have to work on ourselves, to get us free, and by helping with help from master beings.
here's what they do in my experience, and I know many of them, far more masterful than anybody that's ever been on Earth. I mean, the universe, God, is just big. Most of those trillions of planets out there and trillions of galaxies and all the different dimensional levels above the physical universe. I mean, there's beings out there that are billions of years older than anybody on Earth that have been knowing what they are and able to leave their body in and out and run bodies with full awareness. And if we aren't humble enough, we aren't capable of accepting their kindness into our lives, how can they help us? They're not going to force their will on anybody. Only tyrants do that. So they have to be requested. Assistance has to be requested. This takes a little bit of time for people to trust themselves as a being, enough to trust beings that have no negative nature. I mean, none. Not like people on Earth. No negative nature. They grow up on worlds where it doesn't exist. Could you imagine what that would be like? Growing up on a world, and there's billions of them out there that don't have these conditions we have to deal with on Earth. They could bring that to this planet. They're willing to do that. But to do that, disclosure officially has to come about. I don't mean telling people extraterrestrials exist from the White House or from the podium of any president or leader on Earth. Something has to happen that gives everybody on Earth the experience that they remember they used to be one, and that they are extraterrestrial in origin, and there are billions of life out there, and that they have the right to know about it again, because they once did.
I'd like to add on when you said trusting yourself. Trusting yourself to me, from my experience, starting from you are the Atma, not the body, and then the next step will come.
Yeah, and it needs to be a personal, experiential one. Because what we really are is an Atma that runs a brain and body and is not a brain and body, never has been, is capable of comprehending the multidimensional creation. Most people couldn't even dream that they could comprehend that. They think that's only the Supreme Being can know that, and we're too ignorant, we can't know that. That's what keeps them stuck here, thinking like that. And the universe, this energy that's behind everything, just supports, and has for billions of years, good and bad, whatever we think and do, it just supports it. It doesn't intervene. It just supports. That's changing now for the first time. It's also moving in one direction now, which is in the process to retire evil as a failed experiment and replace it with what is called the Hue expansion ray. It is a new consciousness moving from the higher realities above the void down into the lower worlds in the omnipresent power, and as it passes through people and through planets, it leaves a little something behind in them, something that gives them an open door to begin to remember in a protected way what they were forced to forget in terror and told, we'll eat you and kill you again if you ever remember what we did to you. That's a subconscious implant. It is not our own experience, most of it, so we don't want it there.
Yes, implants have a lot to do with us on the life on Earth, because keep us in fears, not
Yeah.
and not remembering anything.
I mean, I speak these terms. I'm probably the only source on this planet that's actually bringing this out this way, which is fine. It's not about ego. It's about helping fellow beings recover what I know, helping them along the way. Because when you are awake, there's only really one job left for you to do in creation, and that's to assist other people, the animals and plants and trees and planets and atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere is depleted. The water vapor in the atmosphere, H2O, is made of two gases. When they combine, you get water. Isn't that interesting? Two gases become water? Two of the first atoms in creation in the lower worlds, they make water. It can store a large amount of the hue around its molecular structure. So on a normal planet, well, you don't see it in this image. But on a normal planet, oceans would glow a foot above the waves. Waterfalls, trees, rivers would be glowing. They have a charge. So on those planets, people are in touch with source energy all the time. They don't get subconscious minds. They cannot be attacked by tyrants. I just wish I could wave a magic wand and just wake this up in people. But without their co-creative participation on their own courage to go on such journeys, I guide people to help share with them specific places and things and what they look like and how to remember how to go there and see them. Other planets, other dimensions, the void itself, Satnam's realm, the U Expansionary Academy, all the way to Source. Because each being actually has, though suppressed, the ability to do this. When we start taking them on journeys, they begin to remember that somehow they used to know this stuff before it was taken from them. The real question is by who and by what? How did they become unconscious on Earth? Born as a baby, growing up 18, 20 years, not remembering how they got here, where they come from, or anything else. See, that's not normal. That is
I
not
have
a normal planet.
I have to show my appreciation to you, Scott, because you are very brave to bring this work, you to bring your work to this earth, because from my experience, I know that you went through a lot, to bring this work out, to help people to be free. I would like to say thank you a million times to you.
Well, this work isn't easy to bring it out. We've had our own little problems at times come and go, but we set them aside and let go of them because they don't mean anything. They're not worth putting much attention on them. When we become afraid of something, it's subconscious. It influences our decisions, and those are always, every time, incorrect decisions. Because the only repercussion that can come back from fear is negative. Nothing positive can ever come from it. So it makes sense that we want to neutralize that or stop that or get mastery over it so that we don't focus our attention compulsively on fear of the present and future, because it's a bad habit. Even separate from implants, it's a bad habit. It's a habit people are conditioned to on Earth worldwide. It's hard for them to get out of it because everything that was done by beings to other beings on Earth, to plants, to animals, to trees, to each other, in 65 million years since the big dinosaurs were made extinct deliberately, is programmed in the water molecules in the atmosphere. It's stored there like a computer. And it's in the ocean, stored in the ocean water. And it shouldn't be there at all, because on a planet where people are awake, they would never allow these things to be stored in their atmosphere. They would use their technology and clean it. So it doesn't affect people around them walking through life on Earth. They've got all this stuff in the atmosphere that is contained within Earth's atmosphere. It does not go outside of this atmosphere into the void of space. What some people call divine spirit. The omnipresent power is that. It isn't a galaxy, it's not molecules, it is an energy that supports all that. It is not nuclear, not atomic, no DNA, no molecules, and we are made of that same energy as individual beings. We start waking that up, everything starts to unravel from there. Every opportunity comes our way. Master teachers appear. Different things happen to help us change.
And because of this work, because I learned to respect all life, and then I have stopped eating meat for quite many years now because I know we are all Atmas, we are from source, we are all co-creators. Thank you again, Scott.
Oh yeah, I don't say to people you have to be a vegetarian to do this work or go on journeys. No, because I know from experience that as they go deeper into it, that stuff will drop away from them. Not because they're forced to do it, not because they think, well, if I stop eating animals, I'll die, I'll get all malnutrition. Well, if they believe that, they'll cause their body to shrink away and die from their thoughts and feelings. But the energy that makes us live is not in the body, it's in the Atma. We aren't even physical bodies. So not eating animals doesn't have anything to do with what the body does. Thoughts do, beliefs do, more than anything else. So that kind of thing, like, not eating animals, naturally most people on the entire planet do this every day. They're going to fight you over that. Well, they don't need to fight over it because I don't suggest that they stop. I say go into the you, go on this work, and let this naturally drop away from you. The source itself will teach you better. Not me. The source itself will teach you better. And it isn't a painful thing. There's only one thing we ever have to give up, and that's fear.
I
Because
don't
it is.
know. May I share this part of experience because I wanted to stop eating meat for quite some time. It's my own free will, okay? And then one night I had a dream. A master being came to help me, like suck all bad stuff in my body. And since then, I never feel like eating animals again. This is just part of my experience,
That's
guys.
exactly what I'm talking about, how it happens. You
Yeah.
can't force, it's like people try to do diets, right? To lose weight, and they most of the time don't work, or they bounce back on them, or they regain. It's because of the way they're thinking and feeling. They can't be blamed. They're brought up on earth with this, I don't want to call it ignorance, this lack of higher awareness that is occluded or suppressed from their ability to catch it, to reach into it. Most people feel like they used to know so much more that was taken from them somehow. They know it, but they're afraid to step into it because they've been brainwashed to believe if you step into that, the devil will get you or evil will get you. But here's the point, they're already caught by that. They're living on earth with no memory. That's already been done. It can't happen to them again. It's done. There's only one way for people to go now on earth the way they are, and that's upward, onward, and upward. They're as far down the scale as they can get. So there's only one way to go. And the work provides doorways for them to do that.
Mhm. And because from my experience, because we are the Atma, we are all the energy, what we eat, what we take is like we take into our energy field. For example, like I stopped eating animals because I know that they will kill, torture, and then they had their own fears too. So I don't bring this energy into my energy. But with love and respect, I understand they are the Atma as well. This is part of stopping karma too.
When people love a cat or a dog, for instance, and yet they'll eat any other animals when they're loving their pet, they look at the pet who eats meat, but they don't remember that the only reason animals on earth behave the way they do, some of them, is because they must follow the lead of the dominant species. And people on earth are quite diabolically twisted in almost every way. They can't figure out whether they're a body and this is soul, or soul's somewhere else packed in their back pocket. Maybe they have on a shelf somewhere. They're all mixed up and upside down and backwards. But animals have the same atma running them as we do, especially higher ones. Insects have like a group entity, or that's hard to explain. But when you're dealing with beings that have feeling and love and appreciate being loved, petted, and respected, Earth people one day will change so that animals on Earth do not eat other animals. The few that do, because most don't. The biggest animals on Earth are vegetarians. So whales eat plankton, some of them, small
Cows,
microscopic,
yeah,
you know,
elephants.
and dolphins eat fish and all that stuff. But here's the thing, they are not the bodies they're running. If an atma is awake running a body, it gets energy directly from source and puts it in the body without having to kill and eat things. But this is really an example of what's normal on many world systems that people will become aware of one day. And they're going to have to deal with it whether they like it or not. Because the fact is, the greater God out there is out beyond Earth. It's not on this planet, this one little Earth. It's a big creation. Everybody should know that from astronomy and astronomical telescopes and what they're showing people about just how big it is, because there's lots of life out there, and this thing they call God does not favor just life on this earth or any belief system anyone has. It requires, and always has, that we journey home and become a conscious co-creator with it, contribute to it. Not always ask with our hand out, give me this, give me that. When I first went back to source above the void, I was inspired somehow by some miracle to befriend Satnam, to befriend Agam Purusha, to befriend the source itself. I didn't worship them. I immediately respected them. That's divine love. And they respected me in return. And I could walk with them side by side and learn. If you put something on a pedestal so far above you, you can never reach it. It's always receding away from you. So we got to drop that and go into accepting ourselves, that we have innately dwelling within us the ability to go back to source while your body's still alive, because that's where mastery comes into it. And mastery leads to the ability to operate in all the heavens freely. Otherwise, you're just an animal on earth with other animals, so to speak, and it's really not our true nature at all. I've taken people, as you know, not just myself, mind you, very masterful beings from the Galactic Alliance, who many are considered master teachers, that people on Earth do not know about yet, but who have visited Earth in its past, who have come here to try to enlighten it. And some people know the history of some of these beings and what happened to them. They were not originally from here. When people talk about higher heavens, they could come from other worlds. They can come from higher dimensions. They can come from the source itself, from the area of Satnam's realm above the void. We all did, every one of us, originally. So this image behind me is created by a really great artist, I think, Arthur Blue. And he gave me permission to use that image on my website because this guy had the ability to paint other worlds and other realities, very evolved places, to sculpt them in the GI, or I think in the software environment. And so I was given permission to do that. I don't sell them or try to make money on them. That's just a out of respect. So this actually looks very much like Zetranami 1. No, not Zetranami, Zentranaman 1, which is on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. It is on a planet 4 times bigger than Earth. It revolves, and its moons, 3 of them, the size of Earth, around a trinary sun system. Big, giant blue one, hot white one, young star. Big yellow one, bigger than our sun, maybe a red dwarf or another smaller yellow sun, or even a red giant. There are numbers of different types of suns. Those are the basic ones. And so most planets and planetary systems in the Milky Way revolve around binary, 2 suns, or trinary. The closest star to Earth, think Proxima Centauri, there's a red dwarf that emits a lot of negative radiation that probably doesn't have life on planets near it. And then there is a binary sun system, Proxima 1 and Proxima, I think it's Proxima A and Proxima B or something like that. Don't quote me, I'm not an astronomer. But it's a binary sun system with a 3rd sun involved. That's the closest one to our solar system. 4.7 light years away. It's nothing. It's a blink for craft that are developed to travel beyond the speed of light. Because there is no limit to the speed of light whatsoever. People have created that trap for themselves on Earth because they try to do, you can't blame them, they look at the speed of light with physical eyes in the atmosphere of Earth and say it only is this fast. Can't go faster than that. So they think it takes billions of years for the light from another galaxy to get here. It doesn't. They're trapping themselves in being grounded on Earth by thinking this way. So they make up these terms, infrared, ultraviolet, gamma rays, x-rays, and they make all these things up. It's one power out there, divided on different dimensional levels at different vibration rates to support different levels. And when people on Earth begin to understand this, as quantum physicists are beginning to, they know there's a lot of other dimensions out there they can prove mathematically, but they can't get to them. They don't know how to access them. And we're going to need the help and tutelage of very advanced fellow beings, many of them human, if we're going to be given this and have a transformation happen on this planet. It cannot be solved. The massive people on Earth are too far unconscious. I don't blame them in order to save themselves from annihilating themselves with the way they live, as they will. There is no future in space travel on a planet as messed up as this one. With the governments at each other's throats, nobody gets along religiously or politically. That cannot be taken out in space among the stars because space is already occupied by far more advanced, sane beings. And they're not going to tolerate us going out there and mucking up their worlds. We can become invited to be a member of a huge galactic system of planets. That's the only way we're going to play in space. So, Disclosure is also, real disclosure also has to do with that.
So today, are you taking us to go on one of the planet, go on the journey?
Yeah, I think probably it'd be a good idea to demonstrate again, because it takes a while for people to grasp what they're seeing when this crosses their path. When I send out the hue is actually crossing their path, literally. That hasn't crossed their path consciously in billions of years, maybe billions of lives, where they've been unconscious as a part of the source itself and not doing what they're supposed to do, returning to the source. So what is underway now is, how do you put it? It is a movement from the source itself down through the void, down into the lower worlds of time and space, into the physical galaxies, moving one way, and then it goes up the shaft, the galactic core of each galaxy, which is an interdimensional doorway, and it goes back to source, and it circulates, and it never stops moving. It's moving in one direction now, and that is to remove or neutralize or get people to master the old failed experiment of good and evil, because it is a failed experiment. You can't blame the Supreme Being, people call it, for that. We were all part of it. We created this mess long ago. And if it's going to change, we have to go back to source and come back here to help change it, or it will not change. We are responsible. So I guess the most difficult thing in challenge in this work is to get across to people, which the source does itself, that they are responsible as beings, not only return home, but to help change things. Boots on the ground. We're meant to help change this unexpected transformation to take place. Otherwise, bye-bye, life on Earth. Goodbye. See you later.
I will turn off my microphone. Get ready to go on the journey.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's pick one. Oceania, Zetranami 1, the governing world of the Galactic Alliance, near the galactic core, not in it. Xeonternamon 1, which is like where that picture looks like that. Or, and that's just in the physical universe. These planets are far more evolved. They don't have war. They don't have disease. Then all of these worlds have immortalized bodies on them. Meaning, the genetic science is so evolved that they figured out how to use precise frequencies to turn on all of the genomes, over 1 billion of the DNA. And they have 4-stranded DNA as humans, not 2. So when they turn these on, like the telomere, which is at the each end of a double-stranded DNA in humans on Earth, when the cells divide, the telomere shrinks. That's aging. That's artificially imposed on people in a corrupt way. It's not normal. And so to them, they know how to keep the telomere from shrinking when the cells divide. That's physical immortalization of a body. It could live for thousands of years, even longer. Really.
Yes, can I pick Oceania?
Yeah.
Because when we take people to go on the journeys and to remove secondary implant, many comes from Oceania, though I think it's interesting to know more.
Yeah, and you found this out yourself. I mean, people have lives as an Oceanian. They're like, how do I describe an Oceanian? Forget about comparing them to humans on Earth. You will fail. You cannot do that. They are so far more evolved, and they're human. Humanish in the way that as Oceanians have pale blue skin, which is where the whole idea of Krishna and blue skin came from, by the way. Not so vividly turquoise-like that they're depicting him, but it's blue.
I don't know if you can see the color of the hand.
Yeah, Melina. Yeah. So yeah, it's very beautiful, and they are human. In other words, the Earth humans is far removed from them as we are. Could actually mate with them. Not that they'd want to mate with anybody on Earth, but the genetic background of most races in the galaxy have Say rays DNA in them. The Say rays, like Ambassador Trillian, their race was 18 to 25 feet tall. There have been skeletons found several 3 million years old on Earth, 25 feet tall, that are human. As soon as that happens, the classified community clamps down on them, takes them out of the world, and puts them away in some warehouse. because the highest classified thing that makes most people afraid in governments is revealing to people that extraterrestrial life far more advanced than us exists out there, because governments fear if they told people the truth about this, then people wouldn't trust them to protect them from their militaries, etc. It's an old fear. It's not founded, it's not justified in anything real. Because in all this time since World War II ended, there has never been an attack by aliens on this planet. Not even the hint of one. And yet people try to shoot down the craft when they come here. Representatives from other worlds have come here and met with certain presidents of the United States. Classified. This is old history. Scared the heck out of people here because who they were meeting were so much more refined and evolved, technologically, spiritually, in every way. It would have set government ecologies, political and religious things that keep the economies kind of balanced. It would have upset that apple cart. There are ways to bring in the awareness of a higher understanding of God, if you will, without destruction or turmoil. But it requires the removal of certain things like secondary implants and fear first. Otherwise, people riot in the streets hoarding toilet paper and paper towels like they did with COVID. That wasn't even about extraterrestrials. It's a problem. So when I mentioned that the best way to transform a planet, the what's underway now, is to do it with masses of help, masses of beings from other worlds that know how to do it and how to approach it safely. They work with people when they're out of their bodies every night first. And then they become of this work, find our video. They're already being worked with. And that's something it's hard for me to get across to people about how this works. But you got to remember, we're dealing with beings who do not have any of the problems we grew up with. No problem leaving their body consciously and knowing what they're running. No problem running a body for thousands of years. It doesn't age. No problem, not about food. They don't use nuclear radioactive material for energy sources at all. They're illegal outside of Earth. So we're never going to be allowed to take that stuff out there anyway. So they quarantined our solar system. Literally. Meaning, they're not going to keep some people with reverse engineered craft from going out to the moon or Mars or something. But that's only in this parallel dimension, and there are 144 parallel dimensions of extraterrestrial life in just the physical universe. More advanced races know how to move their ships between them. So it's bigger than what people think. And no, there isn't going to be any future space program that people have seen in movies or TV like that. As much as I love those shows myself, that isn't the nature of the reality of what's beyond this Earth. So this solar system was quarantined to protect Earth people from tyrant races from the stars from coming back here, like the reptilians who were few in number in underground bases, and Greys who used to abduct people and all that. They're gone. They're not even in our solar system. There are no new experiences of Grey abductions. Hasn't been for 25 years. And people on Earth are not up to present time. This fact is, they were removed not by classified people on this Earth, not by any government on Earth. It's a gift. They were taken out and they weren't killed, and they were, like, how do I explain it? They're also here to patrol our solar system to keep Earth people from annihilating themselves in nuclear war. Now that can't happen because every time they pushed the button to go to war, the launch computers were shut down from space. You don't tell your public that, because then the public wouldn't have any trust in protection by your militaries anyway. I mean, governments would just simply collapse as they are. So a number of representatives have come to this world, and all of them, without exception, were turned down. They offered to transform this planet, give us technology, cures for diseases, all that stuff, but we had to give up nuclear, radioactive materials, man-made, deadly dangerous, and nuclear weapons first. Because otherwise, the end result of having them is using them. So, and that is a contradiction to life itself. So if we go to Oceania, Oceanians have pale blue skin, beautiful jet black hair to their shoulders, like many Asians, But jet black, it's different than Asian black hair. It's almost luminous. They have emerald green eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, and they have webs between their fingers and toes and they have little slits under their neck, way up in the back of their neck, 3 of them each side, that you wouldn't notice unless they lifted their neck up and showed you. And they breathe underwater or on land. Oceania is a mostly water-covered world, 4 times bigger than Earth, 3 planets the size of Earth revolving around it too, and they revolve around a trinary sun system. The truth is, most suns in our galaxy, the billions of them, are binary or trinary, not a single sun like Sol that our worlds revolve around. There are other single suns out there, but they are a minority. So the effect of this on these worlds is they do not have polar ice caps. The advantage of that is consistent worldwide temperatures. The effect of 3 suns on those worlds is different entirely than 1 sun. The moon that circles Earth is barren. It's broken. It does not turn on its axis at all, which is physically impossible. The effect of Earth's gravity and other planets in the sun should have it turning somehow, but it does not turn at all as it revolves around the Earth, always showing us the same side. It's broken, and it needs to be repaired, because the tides of the moon, the way it is, affect the water in human bodies and the oceans in a negative way, an emotionally negative way. Makes it more difficult for people to remember. So when we go on this journey, we go into the you. There are beings who work with us to put all fears subconscious turned off, left behind with the sleeping body. That means when we go on these journeys, the way my voice works, the way it channels, with Turelian and master teachers like Opelum and Ramu and others, who often wait to greet us, well, they always wait to greet us outside of Earth's atmosphere. If you want to travel to the worlds and other dimensions, you can't do it in Earth's atmosphere. If you want to go to the higher worlds, the best way to go is as the Atma, because we are made of an energy that is non-nuclear, non-atomic, no molecules, no atoms. It's the same as the energy of space that little galaxies float in, and we can move freely through it as the true being we are. So when we connect into the hue, we're plugging into an energy that's being brought down from the source itself, through the higher realities, down through Satnam's realm, through the void, down through the lower planes of time and space, and put in a higher energy field around us outside in space, because that energy in space, you cannot record or impose or project negative emotions and thoughts in it. It will not take them. It doesn't store them. They stay within the confined atmosphere around Earth, which makes us responsible someday for being part and co-creating, cleaning all that. The technology is not the problem. That exists. The manpower or being power is not the problem. That exists. When enough beings, about 150 million worldwide out of 8 billion, are awakened up, this world will be transformed. It doesn't take a large percentage. It takes actually a pretty small percentage, like 1.5% of a whole population, to make that work. We're not there yet, but we're heading there. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life. This can be a person, place, or thing. It could be a car you like, a cat, a dog, a bird, a waterfall, an ocean. It doesn't matter. As long as when you first visualize, it makes you smile inside, makes you feel glowing or warm inside. And this opens up a doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. It's the controlling gland. It's through that gland, it has little rods and cones like the eye in the inside of it, a liquid, each tuned to a different dimensional reality, connected to one of the teardrops in the Atma. And that's connected to Source itself. Always has been, always will be. Doesn't matter how unconscious a person is. The fact that they can run something as complex as a human body means that they have attained some mastery in the past. It's unconscious what they're doing on Earth. It should be conscious. So I'm going to send out the hue, and I do it in higher tones because it's not really the voice that matters. It's not me. I'm connected to other beings who do it with me that are waiting for us. When we hue to each other, it's a telepathic function. We actually send the sound to each other without vocal cords or bodies. When a person's more awake on earth, they could be walking down the street, sitting in a restaurant, and they'd hear a humming, a high note of a flute or something around them. And they look around and realize it's not coming from anything around them. We have the ability to hear and see this omnipresent power that's behind the atmosphere, supporting the planet, supporting the whole universe. And this is what needs to be awakened in people that have been made to forget almost everything. When I send out the hue, it becomes telepathic, which means source energy is being moved through us and through you. It continues through you for your benefit and then goes on to benefit others. It never stops moving. It'll go through you into the core of the planet and out into space and back up the galactic core of the galaxy itself. Up through other dimensions, right through that white shaft of light. It's not a black hole. And upward back to source. It's always moving, never stops. When I do this, my body's in the trance state called sleep. And if you're sincere about going on this journey, your body will go into the trance state called sleep. It's exactly the way you put it every night when you put it to bed. Except because of my voice and the way I've been trained and what this does, it becomes an experience that you can stay conscious through as much as you can. The Atma, you, when it goes on this journey, will remember every single thing that happens, even if you can't quite bring it all back to the body when we return. Fortunately, this is being recorded, so you can play this journey back again once it's up on Pari's YouTube channel and mine. And you can find it and be benefited by it. Play it again. When you daydream, like picturing going to the beach or the store or downtown or to a restaurant or whatever, you first visualize it. Everyone does, without exception. And then your body follows where you, the Atma running it, visualizes it. The truth is, there is no imaginative faculty in the human brain. That's all theory. Nobody in medical science on earth even understands where imagination comes from. There's no motion picture camera and a movie projector screen on which you can see things from one brain cell to another. Imagination, that we take for granted on earth, people do, is you visualizing something, and it's separate from the brain and body altogether. And then it's communicated to the body, so you think it's coming from your brain. It's not. When we imagine going to another planet, we're using the same faculty, except we're focusing it upward and outward, into the greater God beyond earth. And yes, we have the ability to do this, even if you're afraid of it, or think something bad will happen to you. Consider this. Something bad has already happened to you. You're on earth with no memory of where you came from. That's already been done. Now it needs to be undone. I hope this is clear. Fear is based on fearing things in the greater God, other planets, other beings. But the real fear is being bound to earth, too afraid to lift a finger to get outside of it and return home. You imagine, daydream it, that you are hovering above near the ceiling where you live, looking down on your body. There are two beings, a man and a woman, hovering beside you. They are Atmas like you. They have a male and female body made of energy, not human DNA, that looks perfectly flawless, about 36, male and female. And they are guides, members of the Galactic Alliance. And they simply keep what we call a primary implant, other subconscious influences turned off, so you can go on this journey and be benefited by it. And other journeys, like secondary implant removal journeys, and we can go into primary implant stuff. We haven't done that much yet because people need to be prepared before they can even attempt to do that. These beings simply give as a service effortlessly, keeping your fears of the present and future turned off for now. You are hovering between them as a spherical energy being, looks like it does on the front of the Emerald Doorway book. That's what we really look like. That's soul. That's Atma. It's a more advanced term for it, not from Earth. It's not Atman, it's Atma. These terms did not originate on planet Earth. The hue, the first sound behind all creation, first half of the word human, did not originate on Earth. It is not patented, owned, possessed, controlled by anybody on the planet. It did not originate in the lower worlds of time and space. It cannot be possessed. We can work in harmony with it, but you can't control it or possess it. It'd be like trying to grab a handful of air and then saying you have something in your hand. Can't be done. The next thing you do is you find yourself up in the upper atmosphere, maybe 10,000 meters, 10,000 feet, something like that. And these two beings are still hovering beside you. Of course, I'm there, and there's others, but they're out in space waiting for us. Then you see this couple, and you have a body form you're showing them, made of energy, original prototype, perfectly flawless, about 36. If you're a woman, perfectly beautiful. If you're a man, perfectly handsome. It's the way we show ourselves to each other. And then you find yourself in space, outside of Earth's atmosphere, looking in the distance at the planet with its polar ice caps, the barren moon, meteor crater pockmarked, orbiting the planet, never turning. In the distance, the single sun, Sol. And around us is a field of golden white light everywhere. It is not black like you see in a Hubble Space Telescope image of outer space. Human eyes on Earth, human twin-stranded DNA bodies normally, do not have the capability to see into high enough spectrum of light to perceive what that black area really is. So it's seen as black, but it isn't. When you're out of your body, out in space, we're in a circle of beings around Ambassador Turelian. For whatever reason, this wondrous being takes the time to be the central focal point for these journeys. I'm there, I co-create with him, of course I am, standing beside him. He has his two thumbs up, clenched fists, and there's a golden white light around each of them. His body's 18 feet tall, much taller than any of ours. And above him is a spherical atma, quite beautiful. And above each of us, these body forms we're showing each other out here in space is like that. He's bringing an energy down from a higher realm through his fists and creating an oval golden white sphere of light, a little brighter than the golden white energy that surrounds all the stars in the galaxy and that is everywhere that little galaxies float in. So we're getting an energy of the hue from above the void brought here for our benefit. We're plugging into source energy. It is not in the negatively impacted, programmed atmosphere of planet Earth, whose oceans and water systems are depleted. There's some still in the Earth or we wouldn't be alive, mostly in the equator. But they do not glow. They should. When 8 billion people on this world are awake, they will glow again, as normal worlds do. Earth is not normal by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it inhabited by normal humans, like they think. How can anybody call themselves normal who can't remember a thing about where they were, what they did, or what they knew before this life, or where they came from in the source itself? That's not normal. In space, standing in a circle, Pari's on one side of Turelium, I'm on the other, and all of you who may find this video and go on it will find yourself in a circle of many people standing around Turelium. He operates as a central focus to keep us all balanced and focused and not distracted by other phenomena so we can go on a journey and gain benefit from it. This is what he does. I could do it, but I trust him. He's not from Earth. He's an extremely advanced human. I mean, they don't even have physical bodies. The body he's showing you is made of pure energy like the one you're showing him. The Seres race immortalized their bodies over 1 billion Earth years ago. They didn't originate in our galaxy even. They're human. 12-stranded DNA, not 2. What they did was dematerialize the connection, the genomes of the DNA, and stored this DNA pattern in one of the teardrops near the white core of their being as an Atma. So when he wants to manifest one that you can see, he just draws on the omnipresent power that surrounds him and fills that DNA pattern. And you see this body, you can go up and touch it if he was on Earth. So we're looking at a prototype essence of what we show each other as beings. He is doing a demonstration teaching. He doesn't teach on a blackboard or a computer. It's telepathic. And we are all telepathic, each one of us. And people on Earth are telepathic, but it's subconscious. They don't remember it consciously. Out here, we don't have that burden. The body's asleep back on Earth. This is necessary. The beings who are standing beside each of you, a man and a woman, are from the Galactic Alliance. They're very advanced, many hundreds of years old. Their bodies do not age like ours, and they have bodies that look just like the bodies they're showing you. Back on a ship, and there's a number of ships in a circle around the outside of the circle of beings, 30 feet in diameter, blue-gray metallic structures, 3 semi-spheric pods in the bottom hull, glowing with a thin blue anti-gravitic light, as it's called. And we can see through the halls, and we realize there are 4 couples in each of these ships. There is 12. It's an important number, divisible by 3. And we can see 3 couples standing up, working behind a semicircular curved control console with luminous faceted crystalline controls, touch sensitive. And in the back, in a type of a lounge, is a couple, shoulder to shoulder with their heads against each other, apparently asleep. And you look around, you realize that the man and the woman standing beside you is the couple that's asleep. So they're out of their bodies as Atmas to go on this journey. This couple, to each person that goes on the journey, is assigned to keep off negative subconscious influence so you can gain benefit from the experience and bring it back to Earth. This will raise a person's IQ. Their intelligent quotient goes up, and they're capable of making better decisions and having more courage to remember who they are. There are other beings here, Master Opellum, in orbit around Tyrellian, standing there, with his pale blue skin, jet black hair, green eyes, slightly pointed ears, holding his right hand up. You can see the webs between his fingers. Now, he's a master teacher. On the other side, nearer to Earth, is Master Romu. Swarthy skin, dark brown skin, coal black eyes, short cropped curly black hair and beard, maroon colored robe, simple rope for a belt, sandals holding a crystal staff made of quartz. 6 feet tall with an ancient Egyptian symbol for eternal life, the Ankh on top of it. It's a device, a teaching tool. It's his trademark. He always carries it. He is stationed in a city, small, called Agamdas. It is located in a Himalayan-type mountain region, but not on the Earth you're familiar with, not in the Himalayas you know. There are doorways in those mountains that lead to the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. 3rd, there's 144 before we even get to the astral plane, the next heaven. And these beings, like him, can move in and around Earth and amongst its people unnoticed. Up above Ambassador Tyrellian's Atma is Etta and Din. They're Drens. They're not human. They're silica-based. Their DNA is made of silica-based molecules instead of carbon. They evolved on Oceania, where Opellum comes from. And they are 3 feet long from the tip of their cute, adorable little faces, their snouts, to the end of their tails. They're standing on strong hind legs with their tail extended behind them, glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. They have their little hands up, and you can see dexterous fingers, thumb, 4 fingers, big toe, and the same as a human being would have. A strong muscular build. Din, Etta's wife, is more feminine, a little trimmer, bigger eyelashes, so you can tell she's feminine. And they are courageous to an extreme point. Funny as the dickens. Master teachers, and they aren't even human. I've been friends with them for over 100,000 Earth years. I adore them. I would trust them with my life. I do. But they are not human. So this will be one of the first experiences people can have of very advanced, kind, loving, masterful, brilliant. They have photographic memories, telepathic like we are. And they have vocal cords. They understand English, they understand Thai, they understand all languages. As do the masters represented here. And up above them, hovering in space, high up, is Satnam. Who is he? Why is he here? Well, he's decided to be present for some of these journeys, but he resides in the Atma plane. We could call it soul, really, but the higher term is Atma. That is the first major division above the void. There's no negative nature there, no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. but there are land masses, and they float in a beautiful blue energy field. And we go there on some of these journeys in order to co-create, not only setting ourselves free, but helping to set others free. Satnam tests what is created in the lower worlds. If it comes back true, necessary, and kind, a change is instituted in the entire creation, and that can change Earth. But it has to be created from up there to be brought here. It cannot be changed from Earth upward. Up above him is an hourglass-shaped golden white vortex, like one of those glass things that has sand in it you turn upside down. But it's an open doorway, and there's a blue-green luminous energy around it turning clockwise. And up above it is a cobalt blue atmosphere surrounding a huge floating landmass, circular with a luminous diamond-like beach around it. 6 snow-covered mountains in the center of it, surrounding a white island. There's a tower made of a blue, transparent, glass-like material. It's smooth as glass and comes up to an oval section, and 2/3 of the way up and goes to a minaret point. That is known as the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, and it was built between the top of Satnam's realm and the 6th realm. There are many other levels above that to Source itself. We're not going there on this journey. We're going to Oceania. Turlian points outward, and we find ourselves as a group of beings darting in a teardrop of white golden light out into space, clear across the galaxy. We can see it from above it, and we're coming down into one of the spiral arms. 2/3 of the way out towards the end of it, and we see a planet looming before us. We stop above it. It's water covered. It's a beautiful blue, slightly green, luminous, glowing ball. No polar ice caps. There are 3 planets circling it, the size of Earth, no polar ice caps. They have dome cities, pyramids in these cities. And out in the distance, you can see a trinary sun system. Big blue, hot white giant. Big yellow one, and another smaller star. It's a trinary sun system. You look down in this atmosphere of pinkish blue clouds, and you're moving through it. And you realize as you pass through the water molecules in the air, the water vapor, that it's glowing. As we break through the clouds, you see down several islands centered over the equator, 2 or 3 of them, and one larger one. And we come down and find ourselves landing on a golden sandy beach that's glowing around a tropical. These trees are massive, but you can see energy moving in them. There's a vibration, a sound coming from the ocean because it's glowing a foot above the calm waves. And the sand is charged. It's a golden mineral that's charged. And so when you look down, you see your bare feet. Remember, this is not a physical body. It's a projection from the white core of your being. And you're wiggling your toes in this glowing sand, and it feels warm and cool. And some of these sand particles come up your legs. They're really energy. They go through the top of your head. You look up smiling. It goes into the white core of your being. And then it's plugged into the golden area and the outer layer, and in the white core and the yellow layer next to it. This is so you'll remember more about such journeys and how to do them. You're standing on the beach of a main island on planet Oceania, and standing there beside us, looking into a jungle path. You can see a big clear dome sticking up above the jungle trees. You can see the tips of 3 golden-sided pyramids, 4-sided with quartz caps. You can see them it's just sticking up. There's one of the cities here. And you look at the ocean, and there's a blue spherical or a tubular-shaped, luminous, transparent glass-like tube. It comes out of the jungle, connected to the dome. It goes down into the ocean, plunges into the bottom of the Oceanian Ocean, where it connects to other dome cities on the bottom of the ocean floor. Etta and Din are hovering beside Master Opellum, about 4 feet above the ground. And they're pointing to this tube, and you see a car suddenly blur into view and stop. It's got double terminated quartz-like ends to it. It's made of a glass-like material, but it's not glass. And in a number of rows of seats facing each other are male and female Oceanans. They all have Galactic Alliance uniforms on because Oceanans are part of it. Opellum helped found that organization of world systems 500,000 years ago. The body he's showing you, he has on this planet. So do Ed and Din, and they haven't aged. He looks to be about 40, trim. They look the same as I knew them 100,000 years ago, and they have not aged because they have immortalized bodies. It's just higher science. You look at this and you can see this car blur again down the tube and disappear down in the depths of the ocean. So we're going to follow them down into the depths of the ocean. A group of us around Turellian, these master teachers, like planets around a sun, descend into the ocean waters and follow this tube. And you can see that this car is just entering the side of another big dome covering a city, the bottom of the oceanic floor. And then there are tubes coming out 3 different places. And they connect to other domes. As far as you can see, the bottom of the ocean floor is lit up. There is a volcanic chute, quite large, hundreds of miles long, that extends from the ocean floor up to the side of a mountain, which becomes that one island we just left. That was emptied out of lava hundreds of millions of years ago. And it's a hollowed out interior. That's a self-contained ecosystem where the Drens evolved. Inside, the atmosphere and the plants produce oxygen, filter out carbon dioxide. The waters glow. It's a crystal paradise of natural growing crystalline forms. But we're looking down at this dome. And what we're going to do is we're going to not visit the dome. We're going to visit Etta and Din's home. So you look at the side of this wall and it goes up the side of this mountain. You can see it becomes that island way up there, several thousand feet up. And there's a window facing outward. It's a half sphere. And Etta and Din appear by it and then disappear and become inside of the window, waving their fingers at us. And they're inviting us in. So you can see an Atma hovering above them. That was the form you were seeing outside in the ocean. So their body form is still here on the planet. They come all the way to Earth to go on these journeys with us, to serve as master teachers. We find ourselves in a living room with smaller furniture than you might find for a humaner. Beautiful ivory-colored walls and abalone-type shell tables. And then there's a smooth ivory-colored floor that gently slopes downward. So we're going to all pass down through this, Etta and Din are leading the way, and then we come out into a clearing. And we're inside this huge volcanic chute. Half a mile high, thousands of feet in every direction. And there's a little glowing path running alongside a river. And Etta and Din are hovering above it. There are many other Drens surrounding them, hovering 4 feet off the ground to welcome us. Master Opellum, of course, is making an introduction. In the distance, you can see a waterfall coming out of a cavern opening, cascading 3 tiers down to a long, oval, blue-green lake. And it becomes a river that flows into the distance, way at the other end of the tunnel, then goes down a hole and disappears. Eventually that connects part of it to the outside in the ocean floor. You can see beautiful 4-foot-high flowering plants and big ferns like tropical ferns. And this brownish gold sand is glowing. And there's a self-luminous algae growing on the walls that produces light. So it's like bright sunlight in here. And these drens are all moving, and we're moving down this pathway. And when you come up to this city clearing called the City of On, it's small, you'll see these half-sphere domed windows all over the sides of this cavern wall and ceiling and the other side of the waterfall. These are individual dren dwellings. In between them are these massive crystalline growths, emeralds and rubies and sapphires and diamonds and stones you don't even know exist, growing everywhere, hundreds of millions of years old. It's a beautiful paradise of crystalline growths. And in secret chambers, there's even more massive ones. The drens evolved as an organic species, silica-based, like crystals, to defy gravity, to levitate and fly through the air. Their tail sets up a charge, and they're able to create an electromagnetic field around their body, an antigravitic field, and fly. They have another set of eyelids that closes over their eyes, little diaphragms in their nose. They can fly 250, 300 miles an hour in the air. They evolved here with this ability with little language, and then the Oceanans, like Opellum, met them, came into their chamber, and then put them through a series of expansions in consciousness to where they evolved high intelligence because of the kindness of the Oceanans, ability to understand language, be telepathic, have vocal cords. They had vocal cords, but they didn't really have much of a language. So there's a symbiotic relationship between Oceanans and drens. The Oceanans respect them and honor them, and the drens respect the Oceanans. Didn't start out that way, but that's how it ended up. Now this is planet Oceania. And at dinner, talking to you all telepathically, to Pari and myself, and welcoming us here, including Terrellian, who's standing quite tall in this chamber, 18 feet even here. Now Pelham takes out a little hand crystal wand device that comes to a point, it's faceted, and he turns it on. And then he's showing you an image of when the Oceanans first met the drens. There's a bit of paranoia in a battle that happened, but it turned out all right. That was a long time ago. What happens to them in that particular experience is revealed in the Emerald Doorway book. The Saber's Agenda is more of a book about advanced master teachers and extraterrestrial beings and their technology as it exists in present time from Earth. The Parallel Time Trilogy basically is centered around 100,000 years ago, when myself and other beings had bodies from the Galactic Alliance we were running, and we came to Earth for a specific purpose. So he's doing this. When he's showing you this, you all become aware that somehow in other lives, in other worlds, you knew about the Oceanans, you knew about the Galactic Alliance. It's not new. And you're wondering how you could have forgotten so much. And we find ourselves out in space around Terrellian, looking at Earth with its polar ice caps, its barren moon. We're back where we started, clear across the galaxy. And when you find yourself hovering near the ceiling above your body back on Earth, you realize there's a golden white light, a sound humming like rumbling thunder, but it's not frightening, it's gentle. It's a sound the physical universe makes as the hue itself. It's moving down through you, through your body. It's going to 3 pyramids and 2 on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. 1 in the Atlantic, 1 in the Pacific, 1 inside a hollowed out interior and a mountain in the Himalayas. It goes through a fountain device. There's a statue of Satnam in it. It is a device. These are not made of matter. They cannot be attacked. They're classified. People know they're there and can't do anything with them. And they go from there to a larger pyramid stationed between 2 stationary asteroids, hovering there. in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of what was a planet called Maldek that was blown apart a long time ago. It now circles in the orbit of a planet as the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. This energy is now moved through us out into space, into pyramids that have been manifesting between individual stars. Then it goes into the galactic core, the white shaft of golden light, which is not a black hole, except to human eyes on Earth who see it only as black. And it goes up that shaft of light into other parallel dimensions in the physical universe, other galaxies, and then all the way back to Source. So it moves through us for our benefit, to help make us boots on the ground to change things, because we're responsible to do that. And then it goes through us onward for the benefit of others. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you for the journey. And for those who go on the journey first time or at the beginning, you might not be able to see anything. Don't worry, because Atma sees everything. But the more you go on the journeys, the more you can see things clearer and clearer.
Yeah, there are people that have often said to us, I don't see anything. And I say, do you imagine going to the store? Do you see it? And then go to the store? They say, yeah, you're seeing it. It's just doubt and fear subconscious that tells you you're not. Don't listen to that. Just keep working on this, and eventually it'll be as natural as breathing. You'll say, how did I not remember how to do that? That's what happens. Well,
And
Pari,
when you sleep,
what?
when you sleep during the journey, don't worry. Don't
Yeah, right. You're right.
forget.
Because people are used to identifying with the body as going to sleep, and they're not trained otherwise, so they go unconscious. But the Atma leaves the body and has great experiences, but it does not bring it back to the human conscious on Earth. It's a shame, really, because everybody's doing it every night. So this begins to change that process so that it becomes more conscious for people.
We schedule for journeys every month for the group journeys and implant removal journeys. If anyone who are interested to join us to get yourself free, can contact Scott Lemriel through the link under this video or contact me.
Yeah.
Anyway is fine.
For anybody in the States that finds it, just go to my website at paralleltime.com and click on the contact link. Now, there's actually a link up there that says, you know, guided journeys, and you can click on that. It's on there now. Either way, however you do it, however you find it, if you want to go on one of these journeys, we'll arrange it. We'll arrange it. It'll be fine. So yeah, this is a pretty long one, but I think necessary. We had some good conversations before this journey. And then the secondary implant thing takes place in space outside of Earth by beings who remove it, not me personally, that are not from Earth. And then that takes place. There are 3 that are removed from no matter how many number of people are. And then the other journeys are the guided journeys to worlds like this, into higher parallel dimensions, into the void, up to Satnam's realm, into the U Expansion Ray Academy, and all the way up, on occasion, to Source itself. To remember how to confront or be, without fear, talking with the Source Prime Creator itself, being welcomed home. And then we come back to Earth to start to help change things. We become boots on the ground.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching. And if you want to join us, just contact us, whoever, anytime you want to. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to bring this recording to a stop.